So, as promised, we're doing our usual Saturday stream. Definitely more tired than usual because of basically someone scheduling to have a call with me, and then they don't make their own thing that they scheduled. So I had to speak to them way later, which was very early this morning, and I was up at an earlier, I guess, a later amount of time. Like, how to explain it? It's that thing where you're up later than you usually are because of some specific reason. So that's why I'm not as energetic as I usually am. Yeah, it's just been another one of those weeks. I don't know. It's like I'm glad I put out DVD Mobile 9, but that writer's block is just killing me because it really feels as if every time there's something I want to write, I'll do a few pages of it and then I'll just sit there and stare at it. Now, I think when enough people come in, and look, we might only have a few people this stream because people's schedules are all over the place, but I do want to discuss this insanity of one of these chicks from this week. I mentioned on another stream, but there's an I guess the way I can explain it is every time I think I'm done like analyzing why something is bad or discussing why something is screwed up, I can always remember um, or think about new parts of it of like extra layers and dimensions of why something is bad. I'm glad Mobile Adventures 9 did as well as it did because I was getting really sick of making that series, like just making installments of it, and then no one says anything, or you get like 20 or 30 views, which I could get on a video that's not edited. So I'm glad that that's getting a little bit more support than my usual stuff. So people always find a way to demonize content creators. You want more views? Why? It's really comedic. Anyways, I was gonna say that with so I mentioned this woman who I'd say what was it 2 weeks ago, basically really upset me, and what ended up happening was this was someone who agreed that, or rather, said she was fine with messaging me daily or being messaged daily, whatever. Uh, And then a week passes where she doesn't respond to my last message, and then she comes up with like three different excuses for why she didn't respond. And then in the course of this conversation, which becomes an argument because she says, "We'll see," when it relates to me asking if she's available to do a call, and then saying, "Oh, I don't feel like doing one." So like kind of irritating me because if someone, how to explain this? A lot of chicks get off on doing this thing, and I really hate it, where instead of just saying they don't want to do something that they have no interest in doing, they'll say maybe or we'll see or something to that effect to kind of like leave open the possibility that they might be willing to do it when they have no actual interest in doing that. A good example of this would be that I had at least two different chicks on Discord say they were like open to maybe seeing a movie with me, and I I even told one of them just say no, because every time you ask one of them, "Can you will you do this?" and they say maybe, they don't actually do it. That's just a little slick way of not directly saying no because you understand it's going to upset the person while also trying to like incentivize them to keep talking to your dumb behind. But anyways, she says at the end of this that she doesn't believe our personalities are compatible. Keep in mind, this is after having one argument in a month, and then starts telling me that I can only speak to her, or she only wants me to speak to her once a week, or like once every 7 days, or some insane thing. And I talked about how I've never had someone where I told them they can only send me a message once every seven. Like I've never put like some weird. designation of time for when someone can say something, can write something to me. Um, but I thought it was really interesting. I did a video of several years ago. It was called Keyboard Warriors, and it was talking about how you have these like people who, when you speak to them, and this still isn't the main point I want to make with this, but you have these people that when you speak to them, and let's say it's through a voice format, very cordial, very nice, very reserved, timid. They don't insult you. They don't call you out of your name. Um, they're much nicer when they actually have to use their voice to talk to you. And then it's like, I don't know what it is, but when they get behind this keyboard, they start typing this like very nasty, mean stuff. Um, and it's so interesting because I spoke to this bimbo for 6 hours altogether, just between these two different calls I had with her. And she was very pleasant over the course of these multiple calls I had with her. And it was so interesting to see how a person who like acted, like a decent human being in these calls, started to behave like a prick when she was behind her keyboard, when she was tasked with sending things through that format. I just think it's interesting because that's not the first one I've seen them do that. I've seen do that, but it's a noticeable pattern where they're much nicer when they get in a call, and then when they're typing stuff to you, it's when they have this dismissive, angry, tone, which is ironic too because they'll accuse you of being angry, but I'm not the one that ignored her for a week. I'm not the one that's telling her you can only message me once every 7 days. None of that weird stuff came from me. Um, the other thing that I wanted to mention about what was interesting in that encounter is something I was talking to my best friend about yesterday. So one of the things I like to do when I talk to someone on the phone, it could be a relative, it could be some associate of mine, is I always say thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the call. And it's just a little thing I do where I believe that if someone is willing to, in a singular capacity, speak to me for a protracted amount of time, like hours over the phone, like with nobody else, I am generally appreciative of that. So one of the things I noticed when I was speaking to the person that we're describing here is that I asked her during the second call, do you enjoy this? Do you take some pleasure in this? Of course, if I'm talking to somebody for 3 hours, I'm not gonna not enjoy it. That's insane. Her response is to say, I'm neutral. And it was funny because, even something as simple as saying, yes, I enjoy speaking to you, they can't even do. I tell you, chicks have this amazing ability to take very simple things and find a way to botch it, screw it up, and piss you off. It's really impressive. I'll never forget. There was a broad from about 4 or 3 years ago. I think it was like 2018, and for like a whole month or two, me and her were sending messages to each other every day, and I asked this person, does our interaction do anything for you? Because I always try to, if I'm speaking to someone, especially if it's been weeks or months, tell them, hey, I appreciate this. Thank you. And her response was, well, it doesn't really do anything for me, but I appreciate it. I'm like, what the hell do you mean it doesn't do anything for you? I'm not your therapist. But I just think it's so funny that you do have a lot of chicks that just enjoy spending copious amounts of time with someone who they don't have any basic affinity for, and if they do, they just have this weird refusal to express it. It's very interesting because I've never had someone I've spoken to for, like in a singular capacity that's not like online or something. How to explain it? That's not like on a video, like just a person you start talking to on some different website. I've never just had someone where I'm like, I can't do the basic thing of saying, hey, thanks, I appreciate this. I just think that's insane. Like it's really strange to me that something as simple as that is like above her grasp. Like she can't do it. That doesn't really do anything for me. That's very telling about what her intentions were. it means she's self-serving, right? And again, something as basic as saying to another person, someone that you've sent messages to for a protracted amount of time, "Hey, look, thanks for sending me messages. I appreciate it. This is very enjoyable." Can't even do that. Imagine how much of a prick I would look like if there was some chick I was talking to, and let's say I speak to her for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, and she asked me, "Do you enjoy speaking to me?" Well, I appreciate it, even though it doesn't really do anything for me. Like what? But again, that goes back to that thing about the female plot armor that they can get away with treating men like trash and just like just being generally nasty, right? Without having any criticisms directed their way. Because they got that plot armor from their triangle. Just imagine if I did that. I have someone I'm sending messages to. She asked, do you enjoy speaking to me? I appreciate it, even though it doesn't really do anything for me. What the hell am I supposed to do? Like, if I always find it funny. They find like it seems as if they always, as a collective, have this hallmark, like this common defining trait of having these nebulous terms that are like always meant to belittle you. So, for example, in one of my videos I'm gonna do, and I've mentioned this before, with this one clown, she was like, "I believe that if a woman were that you would genuinely, excuse me, I genuinely believe that you would stop speaking to a woman that was interested in you prematurely." And I was like, I asked her in the message, what does prematurely mean? Because this is a bimbo that I spoke to for 11 months, the longest out of any of them, indisputably. So I'm supposed to talk to one of these chicks, right, for some amount of time that she won't define. And then if it goes, left or sideways or like it usually does, where they just waste your time, you'll get blamed for that anyway. But if you choose to cut it off, she'll say you prematurely stopped speaking to someone that was interested in you. But you see how, because she won't define what amount of time you're supposed to spend talking to these random broads on the computer, it's like a really slick way. Like it's like a template to always blame you if you choose to cut it off. So for example, let's say you talk to a woman for a week, right? And you don't believe it's going anywhere, and then you unfriend her or make it to where whatever, just walk away. You prematurely stopped speaking to a woman that was interested in you. And then let's say you talk to one of them for a month, and then it's not going anywhere. You stop doing it. You prematurely cut off a woman that was interested in you. You see how that phrase, because she won't define it, it's like it's nebulous enough to just be used as this carpet blank statement to blame you for all of these encounters. And the other scary thing about that phrase is that it's basically saying if you're a man, you don't have the right to stop speaking to a woman. She has to stop speaking to you. Otherwise, it's premature. Man, I really don't like that bimbo. She's the worst out of all of them. Because she would say a lot of dumb stuff that we've talked about on here before. But I'm always going to remember that phrase because I always think it's so funny how she invented without actually saying it, a way to blame me every single time if it doesn't work out, just on the basis of like walking away, like you're not allowed to stop speaking to them. And a lot of them do believe that. Like I've had at least two of them that I blocked, try to still message me on some other website. Like it's so funny how if you flip the genders around in this stuff, people's tone, tunes will change. You know good and well if the genders were reversed in this situation, they'd say the man was an a-hole, a user, etc. Heck, he'd be chastised for thinking that women owes him something. Well, remember, men don't are not owed anything by women, but women are owed men going to the gym, trying to become wealthier to appeal to them, logging on all these stupid dating websites just to get any little bit of attention from them. Uh, it's a really comedic, like one-sided, thing where chicks are owed everything by men, but the other way around, not so much. They're owed us approaching them too, according to a lot of people on here. I tell you, that woman stuff is just awful. Like, I guess the most disappointing thing and the basic way to put it, into its like thinnest form is just to recognize that they took something as simple as, hey, you want to go on a date? No. And turn it into this like years long arduous saga, to where now you have like multiple guys, loads of guys, right, populating forums and different uh online entities just talking about how sick of this stuff that they are. They can't even do the most basic thing of saying I appreciate talking to you. Like that, even that is too much. So because you don't want to waste your time, you're blocking a woman who was potentially interested in you. Well, that goes back to my thing about how that phrase she used was really slick. I genuinely believe you would prematurely stop speaking to a woman that was interested in you, because it's a way of, when you don't have a defined amount of time for someone to talk to someone, you can always say, if the man cut it off, oh, you stopped speaking to her prematurely, that's why that person did not end up with you. There is no logic. That's why her nickname was Lady Lacking Logic, because it's just dumb stuff that she would type. Remember the other bimbo, right? The one that said that 30, 40, 50 years ago, women were given to men in the US like cattle. And then, like, this same bimbo is saying that basically because of her age being over 30, she is saying that her mother was given to her dad with her stupid, broad generalization. And it was so funny because I'm like, the only group of chicks that were ever enslaved in the US were not white. And it sure as hell ended before 30, 40, and 50 years ago. Like, go to a history class, bimbo. I tell you, they don't want to accept that things are much worse than they've ever been. But like I said, several decades ago, there were no groups of men talking about how hard it was to get a date. This didn't exist, and it didn't exist for a reason. Because when you spoke to some broader woman, you didn't have to compete with 30 other guys on the computer or some other entity online to get her attention. That'd be funny if there's like an alternate universe where it's like the reverse, where like it's men that are like chicks are having to do all this ridiculous stuff just to get attention from men. Like, I just post a picture of myself doing this or something, and I got like 10 bras. It's gonna be so weird. I'm just imagining how like comedic that would be. Like if someone actually made a movie that was like that, it would be really funny. Men are supposed to approach women because it is inherent in every animal species to every animal species. The male seeks out the woman. The man seeks out the woman. The make seeks out the woman. Oh, that got me really tripped up. If her mom was given to her dad forcefully, wouldn't she be divorced by now? No, she's conditioned to stay with this man. Dude, it's again, there is no logic. By the way, the bimbo said she would become suicidal if her dad died. So it's like the same man that you incidentally said was given your mom like cattle. You love so much that you would kill yourself over if he whatever. It's more of her like stuff not making any sense. And that was a very dumb person. Remember, this is the same person who thought it was a good idea to tell someone, I'm not going to talk to you because you watched something I don't like. You're supposed to change what you watch on the basis of me, random online broad number three. Told you I've never out of everyone I've spoken to in a private capacity, like not even just friends, but like associates or people that I interacted with more than one. I've never told someone I won't speak to you because you watch this person on YouTube or this other thing. I've never done that. Like, just don't bring it around me if I don't like it. But I don't sit there like trying to use that as a this is stupid. It's funny too. It's like people really don't see where that's controlling. Where like you telling someone I won't talk to you because you watch this like is controlling. If a woman isn't happy or feels trapped in a marriage, she can leave if she wants. No, remember the U.S. is actually Saudi Arabia in disguise, where we've got these arranged marriages and women can't drive cars or any of this. I told you they don't even try to make sense. They just say whatever. They don't even attempt to have a one shred of logic. They just have diarrhea of the mouth. It's really sad. Meanwhile, we can point to multiple animal species where the female not only seeks out males but are physically superior to their male counterparts. It's only humans who think men have to court women. I just wish they wouldn't use all these weird, just think about this, okay? You are tired of asking out women because they waste your time and all you want is a date. Hey, buddy, let me talk to you about this and bring up all these different animal examples to illustrate why you must forever approach chicks, no matter how upsetting or disappointing it is to talk to them. It's like I don't get why people can't just have fatigue, why they can't just be sick of like the same thing over and over. It's just that's why I said it's weird to me. Like I don't I wish when you had a it's funny you have these people who will say like I'm over analyzing or overthinking it, but I'm not the one bringing up examples of stuff that has nothing to do with just trying to get a date. Like they use all this other psychobabble to try and trick you into thinking it makes sense to keep putting up with this forever. It's just really irritating. Like some of the stuff they say is so annoying. That woman stuff is always really funny just to see like the disconnect between the stuff that people will say about them and then how they actually act. Like people will always say not all chicks are alike, but then if they're so different from each other, why do you have like whole groups that talk about getting the same result from chicks over and over? Like if they were so different, wouldn't you see some different results after years of getting the same thing, right? Thanks, Megumi. Really like what has been said so far in this seventh installment. Yeah, yeah. Ghostbusters will never get a seventh installment. They take too long to make sequels. I think that's the only movie series I've seen where there's like no follow up for over for like a full 20 years, and then they decide to make two more. There's just something really insane about the idea of like having all four of the original Ghostbusters alive for over 25 years after Ghostbusters 2, and then only after one of them passes do they start like aggressively trying to make another movie with, the 2016 version. I thought that was really just something about that is so bizarre to me. Like the idea that while the original cast is alive, you can never get the third installment. Like it just won't materialize, right? And then once one of them passes, one who wasn't even opposed to making another one, who actively wanted to make another one, here comes everybody else trying to now make a new one. Yeah, I'm just making the case that it's not some internet thing for males to, uh, or in some inherent thing for males to seek out females. It's a fallacious appeal to nature. In nature, males seek out males in order to continue their species. Okay, well, I think you meant to say males seek out females, but the thing is, we don't even do this stuff because it's in nature. Like I only even speak to, went out and spoke to as many of them as I did because none of them were saying anything to me. It's not something I even really wanted to do. Like I don't take some joy in going, I can't wait to see some random broad and walk up to her and ask her on a date and get rejected again. Woohoo! it's entirely circumstantial. Like hypothetically, if you get asked out by maybe 4 or 5 chicks a year, you probably wouldn't ask out any more of them yourself because they would show that there's like some who are open to attempting to initiate something besides you. It's so funny when people are like analyzing my personality. You lack confidence. Like, yes, that's but the chicks that are too scared to approach men, even the ones that they think are attractive, they don't lack confidence. Told you they don't have to do anything. Like it's really funny. Hey, I'm still like just thinking about the romance reality show. Just the idea of having like a whole hour-long segment every week where it's like different chicks being recorded and having their stuff screenshot. Be like, all right, this week we spoke to chick number three, and she said this stuff to me. Let's hear it. And then we play it for like 5 minutes. That's how insane the woman stuff has gotten to where you can't even like, and that's why it's so funny because we talked about how there's differences where like if chicks speak to multiple men, they're just trying to get attention, but if a man speaks to multiple women, it's because he's like thoroughly convinced talking to one of them still like 1 or 2 or 3 is still not enough to heighten the chances that he'll get a date. So he has to like have this big huge net of them, and it's really scary because people think this is normal. People think you're supposed to just go out and keep asking them out and just putting up with this year after year. And in my video, the one that's finally getting made after months of hype, the why being a straight male is a bad thing or how it became a sin. I talked about how a lot of people actually believe if you're a male, you're supposed to be the woman's slave. Like you're supposed to do all this different stuff to cater and appeal to her. She doesn't have to do anything to appeal to you. You're supposed to put up with all of her BS, right? It's really scary. What about the paradox of guys being told to take initiative and approach chicks, but at the same time, it is said by a lot of chicks they don't like being approached by guys or being spoken to by them. Yeah, you just that's why we have that picture. Either way, I just can't win. Where you're told to go out and approach these people who actively say they don't want to be approached, who openly admit it's annoying to just keep being spoken to by these people. A man is just a utility. You didn't know that? Well, hey, so if the man is the utility, what's the woman? The plot device? We're the utility, what is she? It's like, oh yeah, to get on a date with a woman, you have to go to the gym. But if a woman is not in shape, oh, it's okay. We'll accept her for who she is. Yeah, the man is the utility. The woman is the women are the Decepticons. They do a real good job of masking their villainy. Told you that was it the biggest gold digger in U.S. history. She was so nice for a whole month, would always ask me how I was doing. The day I agreed to this romance with her, buy me this, buy me this, buy me that. Can you give me this? Can you give me this? That went on for 2 weeks. And it was the most anticlimactic thing ever. 5 years of people saying that when you get a girlfriend, you get to make out with her and you get to go on dates and spend time together, and it's someone that likes you for who you are. It was none of that. Like chicks are so overhyped. People make them out to be just this amazing experience, and they're not. But it was funny just how anticlimactic it is. Like people for years built them up as being so amazing, right, for a man to be with, and it was trash. It was garbage. I don't know if you'd agree with that euro dollar, but I think chicks are overhyped. I think they get a lot of build up as being this great thing that you want and need, but actually being with one of them is not the most desirable thing a lot of times. Always go back to the dingbat with the baby. It's like, oh yeah, um, a man has to pay for this woman's stuff, even though he had nothing to do with her getting herself basically made homeless. And then while he's doing this favor for her, she's gonna curse him out over the phone and allegedly cheat on him with another man. And then after doing all this weird stuff, she's gonna have a kid with him, and like even still, they can't even afford it, and also, she's gonna call him a deadbeat, even though he's the only one out of the two of them that work. It's like a cartoon, you know. The woman is just the person uh, we cater to. Meanwhile, you have to be a Mary Sue. Yeah. I mean, hell, you saw the over analyzing of like my supposed flaws. It's like you probably lack confidence. You don't. Why do you wear this? Why? It's like what the hell? No, that's why I did the how romance humanizes men video. It's like all these personal attacks on my character, and it's all based around trying to justify the decisions of random women these men have never even met. Told you, according to them, every man is like defective. Like you got all the because that's always my point that if you were so weird for like not being able to get a woman, why are there these large groups of men talking about how difficult it is to get with one? Um, they never can explain it. They never address that. Like a lot of them short step, trying to explain why there's loads of men that have this issue because that would require actually thinking and admitting, yeah, maybe chicks are really good at wasting men's time and treating a lot of them like trash. I don't know. I don't have any chicks that I spoke to for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months that I didn't want to go on a date with. I don't do weird stuff like that. Only they do that where they're like, well, I just want to be friends. That's their favorite little song to sing. I don't know. It's just funny thinking about Ghostbusters. Like I remember when I was a little kid, it was always just one and two, and then you had the cartoon, and then that because the game came out when I was in fifth grade. I didn't get it because I didn't like I was really starting to fall out of games even back then. But uh, it's really interesting just how pretty much the only new thing that came around that was like a big major thing with the original cast when I was a kid was the third game, and then for like 5 years you kept hearing stuff about them making another one, and then one of the leads died, Ramus, uh, and then suddenly they rush out this weird remake which bombs, and then they go and do another one that's actually got the original cast in it apparently. Like I just think it's really funny how back then it was like you heard such little stuff about it when all four were around, and then once one of them passes, oh no, we gotta get this out, we gotta get this out. I just thought that was interesting. And I remember Ramus's dad died when the game came out in 2009 because I remember I saw an article for that where his father, it was like 5 years before he passed, 5 years after him. So that was just a weird year. Yeah, this I don't know. I'm just I think it's sad that people act the way that they do when it comes to a lot of this woman stuff where they just get so defensive about them for no reason. because we talked about before how if it's your sister or your mother, you know, I understand to some extent, even if you defend their ridiculous stuff, I get where someone feels as if they have to defend the indefensible when it's a family member. But like random chicks, people will just throw themselves into into absurdity to defend. It's really sad. I really wish I could admit like I had the damn messages from that gold digger, like all those years of people talking about how great having a girlfriend was, and that's what you get. A bimbo asking you for money every time you speak to her for a whole 2 weeks, which only ended because you cut it off. Like that would have gone on forever if I didn't say, to hell with this, I'm done with you. It's not like they know or acquainted with these chicks. They so strongly opt to defend. It sucks too, because I remember we had this one stupid bimbo who was like, "Don't hate all women," or something. It's like I got a whole bunch of videos defending Collins, Murkowski. Like there are some chicks that are actually worth a damn, but the difference is I defend them because of their actions, like the way I defend Rand Paul or Mike Lee or something. Even if they're from the party I don't usually affiliate with, I don't go, "Oh, this person's gender. Let me put up this shield and justify every stupid thing they do." It's not the same. It's just so goofy to me. Yeah, somebody is doing something that's like getting in my ear. It's not like they know or acquainted, and they never know them. That's the funniest thing in the world. People online act like they know everybody, but they don't know anybody. What was it again? Even other chicks know there is something wrong with chicks too. Yeah, there are plenty of, I can show multiple comments, and if you want multiple recordings of chicks admitting, yeah, this is wrong, this is messed up, I wouldn't do this. So they know. Now, of course, that doesn't stop, those ones in particular themselves from not exercising the same ridiculous policy. Um, but there a lot of them are self-aware of just the stuff they like to do. I remember it was the funniest thing. There's this one religion. I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't feel like putting up with the BS. But there's a religion that has basically anytime you criticize someone that happens to be part of it, like not the religion itself, but the person, right? The stuff they're doing, they'll try to say, "Oh, you're anti my religion," and so we had this like joke where there are people who will have to like be part of the same religion, like I'm Catholic, so if I criticize the Catholic Church, it's like it takes a Catholic to criticize Catholics. Like you have to. It takes the chicks to criticize chicks. Because hell, like you see the stupid stuff they say about men when they criticize them. They're like, "Oh, you're an I word," just that dumb stuff. That's actually insane as well. Holy cow! Yeah, other chicks know that there's something wrong with chicks. It's funny too, because in real life, a lot of them hate each other. Which I'm all for. If you have a problem with someone, that's all good. But then when they come online, they try to have this like weird unity. And you know what I'm talking about, where you see some woman in real life talking about how bad another woman looks, or you go, not even just real life, you go on. I talked about on Twitter, there were two bimbos that were talking trash about Scarlett Johansson. Like they were trashing her acting, and I think they said something about her appearance too. And it was like, man, what a bunch of like, and it was so weird to like be told you're part of the woman hating group as you're the one who wants to defend the woman from the two jealous heifers on Twitter. I was like, how did that work? Chicks hate each other secret. It's not even just secret. I've seen a whole bunch of them in real life talk bad about each other to their face. That's why it's funny to come online and see people pretend that they're all it's just like another good example of like the online, not matching real life is this weird thing where people say, this woman is probably out of your league. Dude, when I was in high school, when I was in college, especially high school, all guys would do was get in a little group together and talk about some broad being ugly. You get where it's funny, where it's like I've never shown what a single one of these chicks looks like, but they know they're out of my league. But then in real life, it was a bunch of guys talking about how unattractive these different chicks were. Like, that's such a dramatic contrast. Yeah, because remember that I swear, you can go and watch every damn video I did talking about this topic. I've never put up a single woman's picture. Not once. The closest you came to that was me drawing what some of them look like. And that was just like for parody, like for fun. Like this one had some big, creepy blue eyes. There actually was one broad where like she showed me what she looked like, and this guy was talking about how creepy she looked. And of course, I didn't say anything like that to her because I didn't want to be nasty. Uh, but considering the way she treated me, I don't have an issue with that kind of stuff being said. I'm gonna ask you all these personal questions. I can't wait for you to hear my voice 3 days later. Goodbye forever. Dude, that was the last straw with chicks. That like I quit speaking to them, I guess formally like in early 2017, but that was like the final nail in the coffin. After that, I was never the same with those bastards, I tell you. Because it I guess it was so rare to have one of them just actively say they were interested and then ask all this like personal stuff on the presumption that they want to get to know you. And then just out of the blue do this complete 360 turn talking about, oh, I don't think this will work out, even though you've never done it. And it's like people have the nerve to call you negative, pessimistic, whatever stupid term, but you're not the one saying, well, I don't think this will work with this person I have not actually gone on a date with, so I have no way of knowing that for sure, but I just don't believe this will work. Told you, chicks can be negative, they can be positive, they can be happy, they can be sad, they can be mad. They get allowed to do every trait, personality, tick, appear, and no one can criticize them. But if you're a man, here comes the 900 fatal flaws analysis. Me and my best friend were talking about the like she's out of your league thing that you've had some stupid clowns on here try to say, oh, this woman's out of your league and we don't even know what she looks like. Um, I always told him that I never have told another man that a woman is out of their league because that's not up for me to decide. If the woman agrees to date the man, what does me believing that she's more attractive than him or better than him have to do with anything? I just think it's a really dumb comment to make. Whatever. It's like I'm so negative. That's why I'm not the one going around telling men, "Oh, don't approach chicks because they're too good for you." I think they'll waste your time, but I don't go around telling them, this woman is better than you and she's out of your league. Man, get out of here. I don't even know what that broad looks like, and you're gonna say that. There's actually this one crazy. I don't even know if I want to mention this because I feel like if I say, um, do I want to mention it? Well, I'm not going to say his name, but he did something so like bizarre that I feel like if I mention it, there's a good chance he'll figure out who it is. So I'm not gonna say it. That plot armor they all wear is ever so powerful. They always have these. I still like after this one, I want to do that romance comic book video, that romantic rejection comic book, where it's like you just like define these terms: plot armor, plot twist, red herring, retcons. You know, because they love the retcons. You need to go out and approach women before you talk. Yeah, I did for 7 years. Nice retcon. Let's pretend that didn't happen so we can have our little dumb narrative. No, they love playing that stupid game where they try to act like they're so amazing. That's true too. I never did like that concept of saying who is out there, league and stuff. It's not like they can decide if someone else is desirable enough to go on a date with another person. Well, that's why it's a false premise because when the decision is made by the woman and she, decides I will date this person, you thinking that she's better than that person doesn't matter. Because if it did, she wouldn't go on a date with that person. It's really stupid. And like I said, it's only ever said to men. You don't see somebody telling a woman, Megumi is too good for you. He's out of your league. You never see it. Because remember, when you're a man, you don't have a league. You just have to accept everybody. Just take everything. I remember this one broad on Reddit was trying to like tell me how I shouldn't be so judgmental about a woman's weight or something. Basically, where I just mentioned I'm not interested in overweight women, and it was so funny because as I was reading this, I was thinking to myself, I know that if I were 300 pounds, 250, whatever, there would, I would get made fun of. There wouldn't be a single person on this whole goddamn website that would go, well, Justin's person. They would not care. It would just be go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym on excess. But I told you that's the double standard. Where if a woman is overweight, body positivity. But then if a man isn't even overweight, but just not, I guess, muscular, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym. You get why I don't have sympathy, right? Because it's not given to me. So, you get what you gave. I had this one broad ask me for a shout out for a couple of years ago. I didn't say this to her, but I was like, I remember the years of being on this website, right? And not a single person. I spoke to some bigger channels than myself before. I used to like leave comments on their stuff. Not a single person gave me a shout out, not once. So, hey, you get what you gave. And if you didn't give nice, you're not going to get nice. If you don't accept one chick, that's why you don't have. That was the funniest thing. I had somebody on the woman approaches me or asks me on a date, and then does a 360, some whatever that type video was titled, the one for May. Um, and he said, like, have you ever like rejected somebody? And I didn't leave a comment back, but I was thinking to myself, it's so funny that if a man rejects, how do I explain this? If a man rejects two women over the course of his entire lifetime, right? You do have some crazy person that will say, well, maybe if you gave that one woman in high school a chance, you might have. And you know damn well nobody would ever tell a woman, well, because you rejected these two guys, you will never find someone that likes you. Just those double standards are very strong and powerful. If you don't accept one chick, that's why you don't have one yet. But I'm telling you, if they rejected a man, five men, 10 men, 15, 20, nobody would ever say, well, you had all these different men that were interested in you and you rejected them. I have only ever rejected one. That's it. I didn't find her attractive. I thought she was an idiot. She cheated on her test. And I don't have any regrets about doing that. Even if you did give her a chance, would you get past the second date? Yeah, but my point is, if it's a false premise because if you reject the person, they try to use it to blame you. If you get rejected by the person, they use her to blame you. So there's nothing to be gained even from being desperate enough to go on a date with someone you don't find attractive at all. Because you're eventually going to say, yeah, I'm tired of this. And then what are people going to say? Well, you had this woman that was willing to date you, but you gave her up. So, just, I'm good. So I'd rather be hung earlier than that, and have it gradually appear. Rather get the verbal crucifixion ahead of schedule. That was the whole point of sending that broad the picture, the one on Discord that was having the sexual conversation, the one that was recorded. It's like, look, I don't feel like sitting here and having some weird dialogue about doing all this different stuff with some woman that lives 300 miles away. So let me send her my picture. Let me cut the band-aid off and let's get this over with. I'm just saying a person isn't automatically going to be your girlfriend slash boyfriend after one date. Oh, remember, we don't talk about that. According to the fairy tale Disneyland BS of these people online, if you go on one date, that person will become your soulmate. They never like to mention how so many things can go wrong, even if somebody agrees to finally go on a date. Like, they don't want to mention that someone can just say, all right, I'm never doing this again. I'm good. No, I'm not interested. No, thank you. So it's like people are trying to force you to get in a relationship that you don't want. Yep. I mean, this whole romantic thing is stuff people like men don't want. Like, you want to go on a bunch of different websites and talk to chicks that are not interested, that based off of your experiences are not interested in you for years. No, nobody wants to do that. Yeah, rip the band-aid off. Get this over with. Like, I don't get anything from having these like weird erotic dialogues, just so that bimbo's another example of like things will never work. Like, she doesn't want to get married, she wouldn't ever want to have kids, she doesn't want to go on a date. I'm like, you can't even do anything with these bastards. And if I didn't put out the whole call, but there's a part in there where she's like, "Oh, it's sad that your ambition is to go and to come over here and just say hello to someone," referring to herself. I'm like, yeah, because you literally took everything off the table. I can't do anything with you because you're anti everything. Like, if you go to a country meet a woman, right, and she will not go on a date, and then like no long term stuff either. So this person will never get like, what are you supposed to do? God, man, they always find a way to just handicap you, just make it so unappealing to talk to them, so to these pricks, just God, every time. Yeah, that band-aid had to die. Now, what was I gonna say? Let me think about it for a second. Did anybody see the new No Way Home trailer and the buffoonery that's come out of the response to that? But so many guys invest their time with that, even if in reality the chick will never be given the chance to accept them romantically or be interested enough to meet. Yeah, and that's why I said the women have this really strong tendency of spending copious amounts of time with people, like with men they're not interested in. Like, I would never talk to someone for 4 hours and spend a whole hour saying all that, explicit stuff, and then not attempt to meet them in person. The same thing with the one that was talking about you can only message me from now on once every 7 days. Like, I've never sat there and spoken to someone for that long, and that's like the final thing I get out of that. Let me claim my personality is not compatible with you after we spoke for hours. And by the way, my favorite part of talking to her is that when we were in our final conversation, she tried to say we had another argument. I'm like, where? And it's just, oh, it was in the VC. Now that's a really slick way. Let me explain this. Most people will not have like a transcript or recording of their call. So by saying that we had another argument in these 2 3-hour calls, she's able to allege there was another confrontation without actually having any way for me to check the validity of that. You get how slick that is? Like, oh, I'll claim we had another argument to make it seem as if we argued more than we did. And then I'll say it was in a call so that he can't check and see what he said or what happened. I can just use that to make something up and have no proof. People are still saying Garfield is in it. They're saying everybody is in it. I told you the little girl that plays Sandman's daughter from Spider-Man 3, they were messaging her talking about, are you in it? Are you in it? Are you in it? If you don't believe me, I can go and find the on Twitter where they like someone screenshotted what's that thing called? The story, Instagram story. I could show you where she was like, people are now embarrassing themselves, asking me if I'm in this movie. Yeah, huge cop out her part to not provide any proof to validate her point. They never have any proof. I mean, look at Triple L. Oh yeah, in 5, 10, or 15 years, you can finally complain about getting rejected by women. It's practically blasphemous to complain about having a stagnant love. I'm like, Bimbo, look at yourself. Like you have the balls to tell someone if they're a male, right? They have to wait until they're damn near 35 to complain about not getting a date. But then you, before you were 21, had two guys ask you to marry them. And by the way, it's like if her love life was so amazing and she was this very sophisticated and what's going to say basically if she was as successful with having a partner as she wants to, because they always think of I'm older, so I know better. It's like if you knew better, why are you and you were so successful with having a partner? Why do you have to go on Tinder and talk to random men who ask you if you do anal? See, the logic just shattered right there. Think about it. I'm so successful and well versed on how to have a successful romantic life that I have to go on garbage websites and try to get people to talk to me off of there. Because the easiest thing is for a broad and to get a man, like that's the simplest thing for them ever. So if one of them is on one of those websites, there's something wrong with her. No, she was so successful with her romantic partners. Why is she on Tinder? Hmm. And no comeback, huh? You hear those crickets? Okay, I've not seen it yet, but we'll do soon. I'm still not excited for this damn thing. I'm always gonna remember the clowns on this website. Spider-Man 3 has too many villains in it. Three villains is too many, but five isn't. I had a guy this week. I said to him, I don't know why they don't just put a six because we know that there's gonna be five villains now because the trailer confirmed it. I don't know why they don't just put a sixth one in there so we can have a live action Sinister Six, which we've never had before in the 20 years of them making these damn things. And he's like, well, what did he write? Uh, what was that garbage? Maybe they're scared too many villains in movie will make it failed like Spider-Man 3. Remember, three villains is too many, but five isn't. People don't even know how to count anymore. I'm not sure why people are saying this, but whatever. Because they're not intelligent. Okay, it's just like how people would say Spider-Man 3 has too many characters, and you know damn well every Avengers movie after the first one is way more bloated when it comes to like named major characters than Spider-Man 3 ever was. I can name all the major characters in Spider-Man 3 on two hands. I probably need 5 or 6 hands to name all the major characters in Infinity War and Endgame. This movie has too many villains by having 3 villains, but it's okay for this one to have 5 villains. That's fine. In fact, even throw in the sixth one too. I'm not sure why they're saying this either. I tell you that movie came out right when they started the like when the film critic thing was taken off. Like when YouTube was still kind of like an infant website, it was like 2 years old. A lot of people would just trash that film and talk about how bad it was. And it's funny because a lot of the issues that that film supposedly has, you can find replicated in most of the Marvel stuff that's come out after it. Like, you want to talk about a bloated cast? Look at Infinity War. You've got the Avengers, which is already like what 9, 10 characters, except for Hawkeye because he's not in that one. You have the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like another 6 people. You got Thanos. You got his 4 kids. It's just what a joke. And I'm not saying Infinity War is bad at all because I like that. I love Infinity War. It's just it's funny that people like to say Spider-Man 3 had too many characters, but then all these other Marvel movies have loads and loads of characters. Hell, look at Civil War. Wasn't it like 12 heroes in that one film by itself? I just thought that was hilarious. Megumi, 3 villains is too many, but 5 isn't. In fact, throw in a 6th one too. I saw somebody say that I never got that critique of Spider-Man 3. How did it have too many characters? So I think there's a lot more merit in saying it had too many plots because you have the Peter MJ romance, you have the Sandman stuff, the Harry stuff, which is that's 4 different plots in one. Like if they were saying there were too many plots, I'd be more inclined to agree with that. But the idea of too many characters is BS completely. You could like what we can name all the characters right here: Peter, Mary Jane, Harry, Sandman, Venom, Jameson, Aunt May, who's only in like 4 scenes anyway. It's like Gwen. Like if you very again when you compare that film's cast, like its lead cast, to the size of any of the Avengers stuff after the first movie, it's no comparison. It's not even just Avengers. Like Guardians 2 has 6 members of the team on there, and then also Yandu, and then Peter's dad. Like it's are you kidding me? Even something like that has a cast that's like fairly the same size, pretty much. My main gripe with 3 is that Venom wasn't really explored much and sort of just showed in right at the end. Well, one of the original ideas they had for 3 was to have it be 2 movies, where like it's like a 4-hour film. I would have loved that. Like have 3 end with the scene where Venom just goes, and then 4 is him stalking Spot. That would have been way cooler than shoving him in the middle of that stuff. But the director didn't want him in there to begin with. So yeah, it's just really funny to see a movie get like bashed over stuff that other ones do way worse and have much more of the same issue in. They're saying they edited out a character most and likely talking about Garfield punching a lizard in the trailer. Yeah, again, I'm still not going to hold my breath because I told you what's gonna happen. If that thing comes out and they're not in it, this movie sucks. I was so let down. So I'll let them let them believe what they want. We'll see come the 17th of next month. We'll see who was edited out and who was never there to begin with. By the way, James, aren't you making a cameo? Like, isn't there a scene where you're in like a bus stop and you're looking at the fight and you start playing some music and that's how you get some views on your stuff from your song being in the movie? Because remember, everybody is having a cameo in this film. Everyone is in it. No, that film I've never like. People have really outdone themselves when it comes to just being insane with this movie. Like making fake posters and going to theaters and sticking them in there so they can take a picture. Like, look, I just confirmed these two actors are in it. And then they put the fake poster on buses. And they've made fake merchandise. Someone made a Raimi Spider-Man toy where it's like in a box, and they made the box and the toy. I swear, if those two are not in it, this will be the best like fake news campaign for any film I have ever seen. Like all the people who spread misinformation about this movie should be given an Oscar, like just best lies award, you know? They really should win some kind of some achievement for doing this. People are just really excited. No, dude, listen. I remember, like, I've been here since the first Iron Man. I remember those other films, and I didn't see this type of trash. I didn't see people making fake Avengers posters. I didn't see people saying that they're not gonna that the movie's gonna suck if these other actors are not in it. I didn't see that with any other movie before this one. Even then, a show having multiple characters. No, no, no. Akatsuki Merchant. We're not talking about a show. We're talking about how people will say that that's just brewing a recipe for disaster, but at the expense of misinformation. Yeah, they don't care. They're if you listen to people, everybody is in this movie. Every single person that's played a Spider-Man character in any of those different film series is in this movie. That's how insane it's gotten. No, Akatsuki Merchant, the only show where having multiple characters was a bad thing was Young Justice. And I already explained the problem with that show where you have what was it? A lead cast of 6 characters that you give all this focus to. And then you have these different Just League members that are just like supporting characters, whatever. And then you do a time skip where now half of the original team is no longer on the team. You have these like 7, 8, 9 new characters, and you only develop one of them. And then like it's just that I'm good. So the issue here is not about having multiple characters. It's too damn many. And even in a show, you can have too many. When you can't decide who you want to focus on, it's too much. That's just brewing a recipe for disaster. I'll feel so bad for Marvel. Like it just I'll be very empathetic toward this film if it doesn't have those two in it and people start saying it's bad just because those two weren't in it. Because they told us they're not in it. And if you get your hopes up and think, oh yeah, they're actually in it, then I just think you're setting yourself up for failure. Especially when you have people making fake posters and trailers and photoshops and like I remember somebody made a Photoshop of Maguire where it's like it's him from the first Spider-Man, so like 2002 Spider-Man, with Holland and Garfield. And it's like if those two, if Holland was around him at that time, he would be a baby, like he would be a little boy. Just like it was just funny because they use these like old pictures of these actors, you know, to illustrate their point. This guy asked me, "Do I want to see TASM 3?" No, I don't. TASM 3 sounded really horrible. If they want to have Garfield do some new movie, I don't care. Like I'm not against someone having their favorite version of the character come back because I wouldn't want them telling me that I can't have Maguire again. But I don't really care about Garfield's iteration of the character. He was in one movie I liked, and the second one I thought was garbage. a second one that underperformed. What was it? 300 million. They got the whole series canceled. Told you Sony was really looking at Garfield. They were like, "You're gonna have a second one, the third one, the fourth one, the Sinister Six." Like they were so excited to do all these different movies with him, and it died so quick. Because they always planned out at least three Spider-Man films with Maguire, like from because he mentioned when he signed for the first one that he signed for two sequels. So it was like with Garfield, he couldn't even get a third one because of how bad the second one was. Again, if they want him to play the character another time, I'm not against it. But what would you guys say your favorite? Uh, what would you say is your favorite Spider-Man movie? The three that cast in Maguire. Um, I guess the order would be the second one, then the first one, then the third one, then Into the Spider Verse, and then out of the like other live action ones, probably maybe it's a toss up between TASM, the first Amazing Spider-Man, and also Homecoming, because like TASM has a very good. I think Garfield is a good actor. I just whatever. But then it's like TASM has a villain who wants to turn the whole city into lizards, which I think is goofy and he's underdeveloped. And then Homecoming has Michael Keaton, who is an amazing actor, playing a very nuanced villain with Vulture. Uh, so it's like the two of them compete. I just know at the bottom is TASM too. I never want to see that thing again. You can have that movie. Yeah, I don't really dislike any of them other than TASM too. Because at least with the Holland stuff, they have like the villains are my favorite part of it. Like I think Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio was good. Again, Keaton as Vulture was great as well. I just like Keaton in pretty much anything he does. Like I just have a soft spot for him because he played Batman. So the one thing Feige did that I liked about the MCU Spider-Man was that he purposely wanted him to fight villains that we hadn't seen in any of the previous movies. I thought that was a good idea. So because you know that if he had the same antagonist, it would invite like negative comparisons. Like you usually just see people debating which Spider-Man was the best. You don't really see them going, which Doc Ock was the best because we've only had one Doc Ock. Which Mary Jane was the best because we've only had one Mary Jane. I mean, people mistake, the MJ and the Holland stuff for being Mary Jane, the black version, but she's not. Whatever. Yeah, I would say that just the trilogy, like for whatever reason, I don't really rewatch any of the other films besides those three and Into the Spider Verse. Like after that, it just kind of it's like if I want to see the origin, I'll just watch the first one instead of Amazing. Um, and then with the like Holland stuff, I just don't really find it that interesting. It's like I'd say Homecoming is probably better than Far From Home. Uh, but I'm not really a fan of either one that much, like to where I just will actively rewatch it. Like I'd have to be doing some kind of MCU rewatch marathon, which I never do. Or I've never done before to just go and be motivated to check it out again. It was so funny with my best friend. I told you that he likes the TASM movies the most, which is insane to me. And I told him like one of my biggest issues is that they don't have Jameson, who's one of the most prominent Spider-Man characters, period. And they admitted that the performance by J.K. Simmons in the original trilogy was so good they didn't even try to get somebody else to play him. Like, don't you know that's when you just completely outshined everybody to where they don't even try to get another actor to play the character. Even now, like the MCU brought him back to play Jameson again, and he's seemingly going to be doing it for multiple movies. Like they knew they couldn't get anybody as good as him. So this one guy said it would have been so funny if when they rebooted Spider-Man back in like 2010 or 11, like whenever it was first announced, they kept Maguire, but they made it to where like 3 and 2 weren't canon anymore, and then like basically they kept trying to make a Spider-Man universe with the same actor playing him over and over. That would have been hilarious. Like they turned it into a choose your own adventures franchise. Like, oh, you want a sequel to the first one? You can watch the second one or the fourth one. you know, that's probably why I've never actually motivated enough to watch Homecoming and the other Spider-Man movies. Lack of it. Yeah, me too. Like I'd rather just rewatch the trilogy and Into the Spider-Verse and just go read some Spider-Man comics or watch one of the two cartoons that's actually worth the damn. It's funny how there's so much media for this character and so much of it is just like bleh, you know? I would see Homecoming just for Vulture because I really like Michael Keaton. But other than that, and hell, I'm definitely only going to see Flash because he's in it. Oh, JJJ is another iconic character, right? But I'm saying that J.K. Simmons' portrayal of him was so iconic, they didn't even try to get somebody else to play him. Hey, Akatsuki Merchant, would you agree with me that the best part of the Holland stuff has been the villains? Would you agree to that idea or that belief? Like the best part of both of those was Vulture and Mysterio. Because so many people trash Vulture. I'm like, Vulture is so cool. He's like a torpedo in the air, just swoops down and will kill you. Like, God, that's why I hate that people don't read comics. There's so many amazing, like, different stories with Vulture. Like, I remember he faked his own death, and we had another Vulture. This other guy put on his costume and was like trying to beat Spider-Man and failed. Like, it sucks because a lot of the like lesser, like the non big three villains, so Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Venom, all have different, unique, interesting stories with Spider-Man that, like, because they're not in the movie or a show, people don't understand. It's such a shame, dude. It's funny. Every like character I like has some villain that no matter how it seems like no matter how many movies they make for that character, they can never appear like for X-Men, it's Mr. Sinister because he's never been in one of the movies, even though he's one of their most prominent villains. Period. Um, for Superman, it's Brainiac, who's never been in any of the movies, despite there being like 4 different attempts to stick him in one. For Spider-Man, it's like a cross between because technically Carnage is in the movie, but it's not a Spider-Man movie, so it's like Carnage and Hobgoblin and Craven. It's funny too because technically Hobgoblin is in Homecoming and Far From Home, but he just doesn't use his code name, and he has no resemblance at all to his comic counterpart. But whatever. Like every major superhero I like, it has some villain that I think is really cool that's never been done before in a movie. I thought that pattern was so funny. Like there's always that one villain that just has the worst luck. They just can't appear in any film with them. Just like with Batman, I still hate that we've never seen a movie with him and Harley because he has like a unique interaction with her as well. It's like, damn, you know. Yeah, I agree. I think the villain in Far From Home did a pretty good job, despite how lackluster Tom's performance was. Jake Gyllenhaal is great. You know, he was supposed to play. So when Maguire's back was busted before they started filming Spider-Man 2, there was considerations to have him replace him as the lead. You get how crazy that is? Like, he was like this person that was considered to play Spider-Man in the second movie onward is like Ben ended up playing Mysterio. Like I thought that was funny. I wonder, have you played any of the Spider-Man games by any chance? Um, so look, the one that gets the most praise is the 2018 one. I don't have any console to play that on. I used to play Web of Shadows. I had the Spider-Man 2 game on my was I on like Game Boy or something. So I played some of them, but just none of the newer ones. Now, one of the games I always wanted to play was Shattered Dimensions. That's the one where there's like all those multiple universe versions. Because that was a really comic accurate like story. Like it had Ultimate Spider-Man, not the one from that stupid TV show, the one from the Bendis run. It had the original Amazing one. It had the Spider-Man, was it 299, which they had Chris Barnes playing either it was either that version or the noir version. And Chris Barnes is the one that voiced him in the '90s show. By the way, they rumored that he was going to be in Into the Spider Verse 2, and he had to come out and say, "No, I'm not." I'm telling you, they just love spreading fake news about people. Like this person's in the movie. No, I'm not. This person's in the movie. No, I'm not. This person's in the movie. Tom Holland plays Spider-Man the way you'd expect a child to pretend to be Spider-Man on Halloween. That's Iron Boy. We don't call him Spider-Man here. We call him Iron Boy. Like I said, man, if I want to watch a Spider-Man movie, I'll just go rewatch the original three. I think there's like the only reason I'm even going like. By the way, I want to say this. Um, I was too young to see the first one in theaters. The second one is actually the first movie I remember seeing in theaters with my dad. I have not seen a single one of those movies in theaters since the first Amazing, because I just think it's stupid with all these damn reboots. Like I heard the second one, Amazing, was garbage, and then after that, it just wasn't interesting to me. Like when I saw the trailers, so this will theoretically be the first one I see in theaters since the first Amazing, which I'm only seeing it in theaters because they're actually going to use some character or some actor that I like from a previous series. I never thought Alfred Molina would come back as Doc Ock. Because I remember when they had the when TASM was like still a thing, and they were talking about doing the Sinister Six movies. Like, I'd love to reprise my role, but they might pick somebody else. God, I can't believe it. He plays him the way you'd expect a child to play him on Halloween. I actually was Spider-Man for one Halloween when I was in like I think kindergarten. I was real. It must have been when I was like 4, 5, or 6, like really, really like a long time ago, like the start of preschool. I remember they had those like fake muscles. And it was funny because I'm like, he doesn't even have like muscles. He's one of the skinniest superheroes, period. I don't know why they have to pretend he's this bodybuilder. Yeah, that's really goofy. What was I gonna say? I don't know. There's just been a lot of different scripts I thought were interesting that we never got to see. Because I remember Snyder came out and was talking about Man of Steel 2 and having Supergirl and Brainiac. It's like we've never gotten a live action movie with Superman and Supergirl in it. I would have really have liked to have seen that. I think the movie will be good, hopefully. I mean, I don't really have any opinion one way or the other. Nobody's even trying to get a good movie. They just want to see some actors show up. Some actors that everyone is saying that they're not in there. They're like, this person is in this. That person is in this. You have any proof? No, but this person's in it. Nah, it would be good. I'm not okay. Let me explain because I seem to be like maybe my audio is messing up. I am not saying it is going to be bad. I am saying based off of what I have seen, people don't really seem to care what the story is or actually be anticipating it to be good. It just seems as if it's this big actor cameo fest. Like when we first heard that it was just Doc Ock and Electro that were coming back as like the villains of this, I was excited still because I thought, oh my god, they're gonna have another film where it's like you try to like redeem Electro and Doc Ock, and like I was really just wondering what that would look like. And then we find out there's another three villains. So then I got flashbacks to all those clowns from 2007 saying, Spider-Man 3 had too many villains. Spider-Man 3 had too many villains. Spider-Man 3 had too many villains. And then this one has 5 and everyone's fine with it. Yes, you were. I see your message right there. You said you believe it'll be bad. I'm unsubbing. I'm gonna go watch whatever that one guy's name was that did the video with you in the. You announced your resignation from my channel. You're like, I'm out of here. Bye, hoes. God, it just sucks that people don't read comics. It really does because there's a lot of like stories I really like. What was I gonna say? And there's just certain stuff that I don't think can be done in the movie. Like both times they tried to do Dark Phoenix in the movie, they really botched it. That's because that's a story that's like what 8 issues. Like I just don't see how you condense that into 2 hours. I think you'd have to maybe make it be like Infinity War and Endgame, where it's like two movies that lead into each other. It'll be good. I hope. I just picture him going to church. Man, I really, God, I hope No Way Home is actually worth the piss. A lot of stories and other aspects that can't be shown in a movie. Majority of people are much more engaged into watching movies than reading. Right. I'm not saying I don't understand. I'm simply telling you that with an ongoing narrative, you're given more time to develop something. So if people talk about, oh, this thing is rushed in the like I don't like really know that many comics where people complain that it's rushed because a lot of times they're allowed to develop an idea over the course of a couple of months, a year. Um, so that's why I was saying it really sucks because I think a lot of comic stories are better than what ends up getting adapted because they have to cut a lot of stuff out, and it just usually doesn't seem to be worth it. And dude, you already know people don't read anyway. They can't read a book with pictures. My favorite thing is having film critics. These people who are like, and they, let me also say this: Roger Ebert, whatever. He was a movie critic. He would talk about like a film's music, score, performance, act, whatever. You have people who, well, when they criticize a film, they're saying, "I'm just looking at this from a writing perspective," and they admit they don't even like reading comics. So if they can't even read a book with pictures, that definitely means they can't read a normal book. Like, what writing expert have you seen that can't read a novel with pictures? How serious would you take me, Megumi, as a professional critic of writing? If I admitted I don't even like books that have pictures in them. That's like too much for me. Because at least if someone's criticizing superhero stuff, right, the writing of it, you can say, all right, well, they just like superhero stuff altogether. They like superhero stuff when it's a game, when it's a comic, when it's a movie, when it's a show. You know, just like there are a lot of Star Wars fans that are so damn dedicated to that series, they will read every every damn book that gets written. But like in a lot of ways, they are one of the worst fan bases, but they're also one of the most dedicated. Like they're not like Dragon Ball fans who only watch Z and Kai and Super and act like the other series don't exist or none of that other weird stuff. Yeah, it's like Star Wars fans and Zelda fans are like the most dedicated, where they just like Zelda fans when they were trying to make sense of that weird timeline that series has, they would sit there and read like booklets of the instruction books for these different games and like the prologues for the games. Like, all right, this takes place for this, takes place for that, and they would have all these different like points of evidence to support their claims. Like, oh my god, look at me, I'm a writing critic. That's why I can't read one novel. I already said the main novels I like to read are like political biographies, like talking about how they grew up and stuff. I find that very interesting. Like I would say I probably am a hypocrite in the sense that the genre I prefer of like fiction, I probably wouldn't engage with it if it were or I'm less inclined to engage with it in a novel. But I still have like a genre I heavily lean toward and would be willing to read, from. I just think it's funny. I'm such a writing expert that I can't even read a book with pictures. Didn't know you like Legend of Zelda. No, no, no. I've only played like two games that whole series. I'm just giving you an example of where the fans of that actually seem to care to where they like actively remember things that like I think most people wouldn't even recall. Yeah, I wasn't even really into any like different game series that much. Like other than Pokemon and then maybe like Sonic, I didn't really bother too much with any of them. Just because a lot of that stuff is just it was I don't say unattainable, but it's kind of like it's just there. Now this No Way Home stuff is so hilarious. It's funny. This movie and The Flash parallel each other so much. Like The Flash is about the multiverse. But the difference is The Flash actually is confirmed to have two different versions of Batman in it. So it's like they want for this movie what The Flash already has. And it's funny. It's like nobody even cares to see The Flash run around for 2 hours. They want to see Keaton play Batman again for the first time in 30 years. I'm telling you, I never thought we would see him play him again. That is crazy. No, you see how they parallel each other, right? Both of them are about the multiverse and alternate dimensions. One is rumored to have returning Spider-Man actors, as far as like the actors who played Spider-Man before Holland, whereas the other one is confirmed to have multiple returning Batman actors. Um, they have a lot of little just parallels with each other, and then like the hero from both of them is like someone that wears a red costume that likes to make jokes. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I'm telling you, like it's just so insane to me. Like again, I remember when I was a kid, they asked Keaton, "Are you gonna play Batman again?" Oh no, never. It's just one of those things where if you understand the context of like knowing that these people kept saying, "I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this," and then they finally do it, after like years. Because at least with Molina, he didn't try to not be Doc Ock anymore. They just wouldn't cast him in anything, and then out of nowhere, they're like, "Oh yeah, we can have you in this, and we're going to use CGI to make you look the same way you did in 17 years ago." Wow, I was shocked. Get rid of this thing right here. Yeah, I really hope James doesn't come back to my channel because he might end up trying to put a link to one of his songs in the comment section, and then I'll have to get rid of it. We don't support free advertising here. He's trying to get enough views on his song so it can be in the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel. They're gonna let him either have a cameo or be one of the new Busters. I don't know why they couldn't just make another movie with the damn original cast as the leads again. I don't get why that's so hard, but whatever. If you want the original cast back, you just gotta play the game. It's just so sad. It's like when that game came out, I thought it was just a Ghostbusters game, just a thing they made, and then I'm being told, "Oh no, this is actually like the third movie." Like, wow, really? Okay. I wish we could get that for some other series too. I wish we could get like all the like what is it, Spider-Man actors from the original trilogy and just have them do a fourth movie as a game. That would be so cool. And like it's literally just called Spider-Man 4. Like just call the game the title of what the movie would have been. You have so many people that would buy that just to like experience that world again. It's really funny. Like having a movie with Keaton as Batman, just a Batman movie with him as him again, or Bale as well, would instantly make $1 billion. Same thing with Maguire as Spider Man. Like you do one movie with them as that role again, whole loads of people just flock to it. Man, James decided to vanish. See, he knows not to post his song in my chat because we exposed his master meticulous plot. Yeah, there was a person I was supposed to speak to today, but they're not online, so I guess that will not take place. Wish I could say I was surprised. I do think it's sad where you just like get to a point with this stuff where you believe that it's always going to go bad, and like people, you only believe that because people always do have it that way. Self promo to go to my channel and like my song. I would like it if it wasn't going to get deleted in like 2 weeks. I told you need to start calling yourself Sony James because you reboot your channel like they do with their movies. Dude, I go thumb up that song, I put some views on it, and then like 2 weeks later, it's gone. Your videos age like milk. Imagine you called your channel Dairy James. Like these, come and watch my ever vanishing videos. No, I'm only gonna go to your channel when you upload the clip of you on set of on the No Way Home set. We had a joke that was gonna be another like title for a movie where it's just called No Way Home, and you see like a person trying to get to their house and they have to take buses and get on boats, like like just travel all around the world, like a 2 hour adventure to get back to their house. It's all right though. I still have someone who stalks and leaves a dislike. Just turn it off. Like I already told you, the rating system on this site, I think is really goofy because a lot of people will use ratings to unfairly assess videos. Like I know this one guy, he made a video that got 80,000 views about another YouTuber, and a bunch of his fans, this big YouTuber, right, guy with millions of subscribers, came and downvote bombed his video, and they're like, "Your video sucks. That's why it's got more dislikes than upvotes." Okay, what about the likes or dislikes actually proves what he's saying about this man wrong? I'd love to know. They never can provide it. That's why I turn this stuff off. I'm like, if people want to come on here and explain why they don't like a video, whatever. But I don't see a purpose to having a system where someone can just click a button and then that's like their disapproval of it. You have no idea why they disapprove it. Just that some random entity on the internet who was too lazy to actually explain why something is bad felt the need to write that. There are plenty of videos I don't even downvote and I just leave a comment like, "Hey, I don't like this because of the." So it's like the reverse with me. Yeah, I turned that stuff off. I was sick of it. Wish people would actually explain stuff instead of just going, "Well, I feel like clicking this button," and then you can just assume whatever I thought. Yeah, same here. If I don't like a video, I just leave. All right, let me talk about what this guy, insane person did. So, generally speaking, the way people rank Ghostbusters is the first one is the one everybody loves and sucks off and says the most amazing, movie that was made that year, whatever. The second one, people say usually is not as good as the first one, but is still good. And then the 2016 remake is universally panned. And then the new one is like getting mixed to positive reviews. I'm just giving you the objective like reviews and stuff. I know a guy who gave Ghostbusters 2 a lower rating than the 2016 version that everybody hates. And in his comment section, people are like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "It's just a difference of opinion." Dude, I told you sometimes I just don't get people like the stuff they have a problem with is so weird. Like I don't understand at all. This movie had a lot of jokes, and I didn't laugh at a single one. It's like, okay. So if I don't laugh at the joke, then it's bad. Most and likely, it's the guy that told you if you don't have a like, you can't get a woman. Just like, oh well, he's nothing. He's just that's why all he can do is click a button. He can't actually explain anything. Yeah, I would just turn it off. Dude, I've never seen. You know what? Like, really kills me. I had classmates when I was in like ninth, 10th, 11th grade, and they were with a girl, and they didn't have licenses. What the hell? You get where it's like people online take anything that they believe you don't have, and they use it as your fatal flaw. Oh, you wore this jacket, so this woman doesn't like you. Oh, you wore this shirt, so this woman doesn't like you. Oh, you wear glasses, this woman doesn't like you. Oh, you're this. You're. We assume you're this height, so this woman like just the over analysis it's so infuriating and it really it goes back to my point of like why this stuff isn't even worth bothering with like why bother sitting here trying to talk to these people and have a reasonable adult serious conversation about this topic if people are so his only pursuit in life is to click a button. Yeah, that's it, that's his main goal. He doesn't know his left or right, but clicking the dislike button on James' video is his main fight. When he clicks this button, he feels more powerful. That's how he derives his strength. Matter of fact, let me go over to your channel. I'm gonna click it right now. That'd be funny if every time he does it, we had a joke about like the keyboard warrior, where like the more they insult people online, they get stronger, like they power up. Their muscles start like growing and developing. Tell me, man, when people are typing stuff to you, they feel really strong. And you saw that with that woman I brought up at the start of the stream, where when I'm in these calls with her, these hours long calls, she's very timid. She is not really saying anything offensive at all. And then when she got behind that keyboard, she let out the beast. She unveiled her true colors. So tired of these Decepticons, man. They all they know how to do is pretend to like somebody. All they know how to do is talk to some guy that they're not interested in, that they don't actually have any affinity for. But because they're bored, they will try to get his attention. They will sit there and speak with him for some protracted amount of time. It's really sad because I just have never understood the purpose of devoting so much time, like, um, in having spoken to other men, I don't know any man or any other instance where it's like, "Oh, yeah, here's this woman that was talking to this man, and he spoke to her for, like, 2, 3 months, and then, oh, she thought he was interested, but he was just playing her and wasting her time." It's always the woman doing that to the man every time, in every instance. It's funny, you have these channels that keep telling me how busy they are, like how they're not making stuff because how busy they are, and then they're pumping out these Ghostbusters Afterlife reviews like hotcakes. They're like, I thought that was funny. Yeah, his only purpose in life is to just click a button. He feels he powers up that way. He's gonna click that button. He's gonna know he doesn't like that. He's gonna let you know he doesn't like your stuff. That's how he derives his strength. That's it. Looks like a Kotsky merchant left. He decided to withdraw from the stream to retire for today. I'm actually surprised they even made another Ghost. But why are you surprised? They saw that train wreck that came out 5 years ago. They said, well, most of the original cast is still alive, so let's pump one of these out. I was more surprised by the last one than this one because I told you I remember when I was a kid and there were just two of them, and people kept saying, "This year we're getting another one. That year we're getting this one." They have enough material to where they could make a whole movie about trying to make the third one. That's how bad that got. Where they just kept saying, "Oh yeah, it's coming next year. We're gonna start production this year. We're gonna start filming soon," and it never happened. And then Ramus died, and then they just like rushed out this weird remake, and then that bombed, and then they were like, "All right, well let's actually do it correct this time." No, the other one was way more surprising because I remember the years of people saying we were going to get a third one with the original cast, and it just never happened. It was like this great big fairy tale, like, "Oh yeah, the original cast is coming back for a new Ghostbusters. When's it going to film? Oh, 2010, no filming happened. 2010. Oh, 2011, no filming happened. 2011." It just kept going and going and going. It really sucks because they had so long, like they had a 25-year window between '89 and 2014 to put out a third one with the entire original cast, and it just never materialized, and it sucks. I guess we have Bill Murray to thank for that, huh? Somebody made a review. I'm not gonna say who it was because I just thought this line was really funny. And in the comment section, this guy was like talking about how old the cast, like the male Ghostbusters. I was like, what? I don't know what you expected. They're all like 50, 60, so whatever. And he was like, except for Ernie Hudson, he proves that black doesn't crack. I just thought it was such a weird and amusing compliment, like to single him out as looking good in his 70s. Like, all right, sure. Black don't crack. It was the same thing with the special features for Return of the Jedi. where there's like a black lady that was in the Star Wars Episode 6, um, and she came back to film her scenes for the special features like 10, 15 years later. And there was a guy who said he was amazed at how good she still looked damn near 20 years later, and it proved that black doesn't crack. I just always think it's so funny when people make like some compliment about the way a person looks and they use their like it's not meant to be offensive at all. It's just I just think it's funny. I never actually watched Ghostbusters properly, only seen various scenes or clips of it. Well, if you do see it, I recommend it. I recommend the second one. You can skip that all woman one. That was terrible. But you know, you have people who even trash the second one. There are so many movie series like that where people just suck off the first one and everything after that is bad. Back when there were only three Star Wars movies, people used to trash Return of the Jedi like there was no tomorrow. And then every time they make another one, it's like this one's bad, that one's bad. Yeah, Megumi. To me, what's more interesting than than like the movie itself is all the backstory and drama and like this 20-year saga that it took to get another one. I thought that was hilarious. Where people just kept saying, "Oh yeah, we're making another one. It's going to come out eventually, someday, at some point." I thought that was really funny. There are a whole bunch of just films people have never seen before, so I'm not surprised you haven't seen it all the way through or the whole thing. Not shocked in the slightest bit. An all woman one. Yeah, after one of the lead actors died, Ramus, they decided to make a remake where it's just a bunch of chicks. I mean, it's just a crappier, unfunny version of the first one. And then the new one is like, all right, that one never happened. We're only acknowledging the first two. And then one of the actors got mad. She's like, I can't believe you guys ignored our work. So, oh well, you ignored the two before that. So, you know, cry me a river. Now it's your turn to get ignored. And someone had the nerve to give that a higher review than Ghostbusters 2. I never want to watch that guy's channel again. I was like, what's wrong with you? Are you out of your damn mind? Like 2 is a masterpiece compared to that horrible thing. It's weird because I saw 2. I thought it was good. I don't know what happened with people. That's why I said they always it's like if you have a sequel to a movie and it's not as good, it's automatically considered bad. Like there's no in between. It's either as good or bad. You just can't win. James said, "I'm actually surprised they even made another Ghostbusters." I was only surprised they made the all chick one because I remember that saga year after year. We're gonna make another one, and nothing happens. And then one of the lead actors dies, and then they finally decide to, hunker down and try to do something. I don't think there's another film series like this where there's two movies in the 80s, and then there's no movie for another 20 something years. Because even like Star Wars doesn't have breaks that are that big. It had like a 15, 17-year gap between trilogies, but you don't even with that series, like the gaps weren't that large. I remember when Return of the Jedi, not Return, Revenge of the Sith came out. People were like, "All right, this is the last one, no more." And for 7 years, that was it. It was just six movies, and then here comes the Disney and their purchase of the series and all this extra stuff. Yeah, they really botched themselves over that trash that they made, which is why they basically are ignoring their own work. Like Mandalorian, that series that everybody was sucking off is set during Revenge of the Sith. Not Revenge of the Sith, the time of Return of the Jedi. I keep getting them mixed up for some reason. So it's funny when even they're like, yeah, we know we messed up, so we're not even gonna look even bother making stuff for the rest of that timeline. Imagine if James was in Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel and he's like this ghost that just plays music. You're like, why did you end up as a ghost? I'm terrorizing people with my trumpet. I know Matrix ain't an 80s movie, but that's also undergoing a hiatus for the fourth installment. It was the same thing with Scream 4, where like the first three Screams all came out in like 4 years of each other. In fact, the second one came out the year after the first one. Um, which really surprises me as considering how good it is. And then there was an 11-year gap between the third Scream and the fourth one, and then the fourth one was supposed to start a new trilogy, but it like underperformed. And then Wes Craven died, the director who did all four of them. And now after another 11-year hiatus, we're getting the fifth one. Hey, I remember I used to have that joke that Scream 3 and Spider-Man 3 are very similar to each other, where they're part of a trilogy where people say the first two are either good or great, but then the third one has like mixed reception. Some people say it's good, some people say it's bad. That's why I had this joke. It's like maybe we'll get the fourth installment 11 years later to pick up the story, and then we obviously have had 11 plus years since 2007, but you get the idea that like it like follows the same trend, of having a third installment that people. It's the same thing with Superman 3, where like the first two Superman are considered classics, and then the third one is the divisive one, and the fourth one's hated by everybody. The fourth one is considered one of the worst films ever made. It was like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. No, Matrix is still a good example because it's another one of those films where it had like a few kind of come out, not necessarily back to back, but like pretty like consistently over a short number of years, and then huge gap between the third one and the fourth one. I don't know. I'm just tired of trilogies. I'm really sick of those. Like the number three is over. That's why with the Avengers, I was so happy that it was at least four movies. Even if Infinity War and Endgame are kind of like one big movie together, whatever. It was just nice to have to not have it be stuck at three. It just sucks that Chris Evans didn't want to play Captain America anymore because it's like he gets a first film that's set in the past, a second one that does flesh out his character, admittedly is about him, and a third one that's basically Avengers 2.5. Has all these different characters, and he's still like I guess the central focus, but it's a very crowded movie. And then, after playing a somewhat major role in both Age of Ultron and the first Avengers, he has the least amount of attention of any. It's like him and Black Widow that barely do anything in Infinity War other than get beat up by Thanos at the end. Uh, then they give him a big role in Endgame just to have him age up to be an old man and then disappear from then on. So I really hate a lot of just the trajectory with that character because the problem with him is that he's a character who's in seven movies, but in two of them, including his own, he's like stuck around these other characters who suck up all the screen time. You know what I'm saying? It's just I wish we could have gotten some fourth outing with him just as a better, send off that's like actually about him and not five or six other characters. Huge shame that most of the time the sequels don't live up to the expectations or aspects of the predecessors. So like Spider-Man 2 is like the only sequel I've ever seen. People are like, "Oh yeah, this is better than the first one." All the other ones, people always have some problem with. Like out of all the sequels I've seen where people say that a sequel, it's like Thor Ragnarok, um, and then like both Winter Soldier and Civil War considered better than First Avenger, and obviously Infinity War. A lot of people love that damn thing. But yeah, very few sequels match up to the. I still think a lot of it is just people get this idea. Oh, James, please don't bring that up. I'm not trying to start having a conversation about that because most of the people that were bashing that thing didn't even see it to begin with. Had to bring up a superhero movie. Had to. If you just said Independence Day, we could have ended. We could have had a decent dialogue, and you had to botch it. I literally know people who say that movie is bad that haven't even seen it. They just go off of reviews. I saw it and enjoyed it. I thought, I guess it's like this. With the first Wonder Woman, I had people who were saying that she wasn't, that like the villain wasn't developed because we only are introduced them at the end of the movie. And in this, they have two villains that both get screen time, that both have these very clear motivations. You see them become antagonistic over the course of the film. I don't know, just it really feels like no matter what they do, they just can't. They couldn't win. Like I guess maybe after seeing all those reviews talk about how bad it was, and then watching it and not having a problem with it, I'm really baffled. That's why I said online people have a problem with everything. No, I think he was talking. Let me go see if I'm getting this wrong. I don't want to misstate what he's talking about. I think he's trying to say that the second, if I guess when I'm worried, like I'm not entirely familiar with that, so I'm just gonna see if I know what I'm talking about. Uh, oh, okay, he's talking about the '96 one. Yeah, Resurgence got negative reviews. No, I was worried that like that you were talking about the first one. I was like, what? But look, I've been on it for 2 hours. I'm about to get off so I can go eat. I'll do another stream on Monday, and then I'll put up some edited video. I was really surprised by the views on the new DVD mobile adventures. At last got a little bit of attention for making one of those. So uh, I'll see you guys. Thanks, James, Megumi, Akatsuki Merchant when he was still here. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, Euro when he showed up at the beginning for his cameo. So thanks.